studies and all the good people out there. With my title, I know my wife asked me if I was going to talk about legalizing marijuana, but I want to talk about the economics of happiness in contrast to the current crap we have today. But before I do that, I wanted to I think it's always good to remember those who came before and inspired the struggle for ethnic studies and other good things over the last 30 or 40 years. My last ethnic studies conference was 1971, probably the first one. So I'm probably revealing my age. This is a great pamphlet. The last article in here, these were actually publications and speeches, was done by my friend Kalani Ohelo, who's right here, a leader of the Kalama Valley struggle and many, many other struggles. His arrest record is probably longer than mine, but a very distinguished activist. Kalani and Brad, you could make it. People who helped ethnic studies and who helped build Hawaii in a more happy and decent way. Pete Tagalog is no longer with us, leader of the Oda Camp struggle. Charlie Correa, Bill Makokani, Mr. Bautista, John Lovell from the Chinatown struggle, Randy Kalahiki from Kahaluu, Stanford Achi from Niumalu, Hawaii, John and Marion Kelly, Heiea Kea by Holy Waikani people, Carl Young, Soli Niheo, so many others, including just 2 days ago. Pete Thompson. Pete was one of, I think, the original founders of ethnic studies. Great activist, probably the first, Lonnie reminded me, the first information archive of the movement. Tremendous in research, tremendous in speaking. Tremendous organizer in Waihole Waikani, one of the great struggles of the islands. He died just 2 days ago. I asked him, I saw him just an hour before he died. I hope my visit didn't push him over. But I asked him if he had anything to say. He was unable to talk, but his wife just said he always considered ethnic studies one of his most important involvements. So thank you from Pete to all of you. Ethnic studies has always preached history our way. We know history is written by the victorious and usually puts down the vanquished, which usually is most of us. So ethnic studies turned that around and they brought to the islands a truer rendition of the people's history. And I think they made this, it was important for all of us to join together to make a better future. Now it's time probably to create an economy our way. And I'm hoping ethnic studies can be a force in doing that. Frankly, capitalism is running amok in the islands, all over the world. We see wars that go on that never end, billions and trillions of dollars wasted there. And I noticed that, whenever they want to spend $1 trillion for war, I don't remember any congressional debate. It's almost quiet. But if they want to vote on a Milk for Children in Schools program, there's a fierce debate and a close vote. And today, more and more of those programs are shut down. We have trillions for war and destruction and very little for the social well-being of our people. It is not a people's economy. All over the world, this kind of economy is creating destruction and poverty and starvation. In the 15 minutes that I will talk, 210 children will die from starvation, poverty, hunger, or a disease which is fully preventable. 7.6 million children a year. And we get outraged, I think. An earthquake could kill several thousand people, and there's a world consciousness, which is good to raise money and relief. But imagine every day 21,000 children dying. I think that's a staggering mark of the injustice of the system and its failure. This, after all, is a time where we can produce enough food for everybody. We can produce enough housing. We can employ everyone worldwide, if we use those resources for those endeavors. Imagine if the U.S. gave every country or 4 countries sanitation plants. A lot of children die from diseases because sewage goes into water. And all over the world, instead of spending billions on ridiculous weapons and crazy wars, we gave these gifts. The other thing that bothers me is just the whole inequality. When the top 1% of this country, 400 individuals own as much as 50% of all the people, then something is wrong. How many, if you have billions and trillions of dollars as an individual, how can you spend it? Unfortunately, they're spending it to cripple the political system, to buy candidates of the worst kind of politics, and to turn around things against women, against workers, against people of color, to put walls up on our southern border to keep people out. You notice they never want to do that in the northern border. They want to keep people of color out. And this is the dominant mood in a very quasi-fascist Congress that we have today. And that's something we have to deal with. Issues like the XL pipeline, Keystone, coming down from Canada. Is that something that's really going to benefit the American people? It's capable of so much destruction. And to do it, they have to take away land from Native Americans. Fracking. Fracking is the breaking of the land. And they have more than, I think, 200,000 sites now in this country with tremendous present destruction of the water resources and harm to people. And this goes on. More and more oil, we give subsidies to the most profitable oil companies in the world. And we cut our budget on people's needs. I think it's time we all agree we've got to change this economy. It's not working. What would a better economy look like? Some countries have tried it. Bhutan in South Asia had a happiness, decided to measure their economic progress in terms of people's satisfaction and happiness. And they did this for a couple of decades. I don't think they do it now. But you measure other things other than GNP and profit level, et cetera. You measure what are have the basic needs of people been met. Denmark has been determined to be the happiest economy in the world right now. A 33-hour work week, no charge for higher education, for health care, for child care, and a minimum wage of $20 an hour. All of that we need in Hawaii. All of that would make sense in Hawaii. We don't have that. We're lucky to get a $7 or $8 or $10. I think we have to wait a few years to get our minimum wage up to starvation. I wish I could say the University of Hawaii may be a leader in the fight for equality, but it's a very inequitable institution. Even in its hierarchy, you have deans and vice chancellors and assistant vice chancellors, presidents, etc., who are making money, gobs of money, and then appoint other assistants who make gobs of money. And at the expense of the learning, the university should be an academical village. It should be a community of scholars and teachers. Instead, it's followed the corporate model. So you pay CEOs, they have assistants who are high paid. The people who probably do the bulk of the teaching, the professors have to fight for their salaries, which are lower here than in the mainland. But the graduate assistants and instructors and lecturers are paid the least, and they probably do a lot of the work. It's an inequitable thing. It often runs with research money. We know the Defense Department wants to collude with university and get research done here for war. We have always opposed that. The University of Hawaii students have had sit-ins over that issue. I hope that continues. The university should be democratized. More money should be used for teaching. We should get rid of tuition. We should get rid of tuition and fees. Other countries have done it. France, Denmark, Germany, et cetera, et cetera. There's so many, I could give you a long list. At least Obama is for a community college free, but I think it should apply to all public universities. Our local economy is tainted with much of the same thing. We have war industry here. We have a big military base. Over 10 to 20% of our land, 10% is controlled by the military. Military is a source of pollution, but also their business is war. We could use that land and those facilities for peaceful things. In the Philippines, where they got rid of bases, there has been much better productive use of that land. Hawaii should be the same. By having nuclear bases and weapons in Hawaii, you make this place a nuclear target. And it's not far out anymore to envision a nuclear war with the way the U.S. is warring around the world. And again, Russia is being made into an enemy. What the U.S. has done is create enemies to have a constant war. So you have the bombing of the Trade Center in New York, and then you kill, 100, 200,000 people in Iraq, and ongoing in Afghanistan. And then what you used to call Al-Qaeda, you give it a new name, ISIS, or they give it a new name. And then we have to have another war there and go back into Iraq. It's complete nonsense, and it's a big lie. And the same companies who made money from Iraq and Afghanistan are going to make more money. Our local economy gets tied into all of that, and it helps to misdevelop our priorities in our land. We see now they want to develop 1,500 acres of the best farmland, some of the best farmland on Oahu, out in the Ewa Plain. I hope that can be stopped. What bothers me too, people are angry about a lot of this, but they're told, blame the Micronesians, blame the Marshallese, blame the immigrants. They're taking good jobs. Blame the homeless people pissing on the sidewalk because there's no other public toilet available. Put them in jail. It's obscene what our governmental leaders are doing, and we're letting them do it. So we need to march on these people. We need to sit in their council chambers. We need to stop it. We have not built decent public housing here for almost 45 years. And it's time they build that kind of housing. You go around where I teach at HCC, I teach every other semester, you see the canal. Have any of you seen that? Yes. Until recent, I think now they're trying to get people out, but there were 100 families there last time I counted, mainly on one side of the canal. Yep. Or more than 100 people anyhow. Look at Aloha Park. It looks like the strike of 1920 where people got kicked off the plantations and had to come into Aloha Park. Well, Aloha Park and all that surrounding area has become a homeless village. Anyhow, the fact we have so many homeless, and then in Kaka'ako they're building luxury condos for people with money in the urban center of our city is absolutely a crime. And I think for you, the good thing about youth is you have the opportunity to change. You have the opportunity to research. You have the vocation to speak up, to write. Don't just make it a passive thing, your education. Ethnic studies especially had this legacy of sending students and faculty out into the community. Pete Thompson went to Waihoʻoli Waipani. Other people went to Chinatown. People were sent out to get educated in the real lives of people and in the real struggles and issues. And I'm hoping ethnic studies maybe can look at doing more of that. Just having you on campus, to me, I think a lot of the local community and the progressives in the community see you as a base for them, see you as a support. So keep doing that. I have a 20-point action plan, which I won't go into. Feel free. Do I have just one more minute?
Yeah, you got 2.
Oh, I got 2 minutes. I asked my granddaughter, what should I say today? She said, nothing. She's 3 years old. And I said, well, what is the audience going to say? Nothing. And I said, well, maybe they paid big money to come. Anyhow, it's my earnest hope that ES can resume that role of empowering students. One other role I would like you to play, because in the realm of social studies, now a lot of the language is very different than the language people speak in the community. So if there can be, in writing papers or giving papers or teaching, etc., there can be an effort to use language that people would understand in the community, especially when you go public. I know scientific, the semantics are important, but often they can be off-putting. And I'm thinking of the Confucian scholars in China, where for a long time they didn't want the people to know their writing system and everything. I think for us academics, especially in social studies, we need to speak the blunt truth, we need to speak it clearly, and then we need to act on it. Thank you for your attention.